Alex, I spent 3 hours yesterday looking for my favorite 1/2 inch socket. Just one. I tore the shop apart like I was hunting for buried treasure, only to find it sitting right on the edge of the drill press table, mocking me. It's those little moments that remind me, if my head wasn't bolted on, I'd probably leave it in the scrap bin.
Only 3 hours? That's an improvement for you, Tiger. Normally, we have to send out a search party for your spectacles while they're sitting on top of your head. But honestly, if you spent less time hunting for sockets and more time organized, we wouldn't have started 10 minutes late.
Organization is a journey, not a destination. But speaking of things that are actually organized, we've got a lot to chew on today. It's Tuesday, March 31st, 2026, and the world of making is moving faster than a squirrel on a power line. We're talking Swiss-type precision, why the electrical trade is looking more like a sci-fi movie, and how to actually make a buck without selling your soul.
Let's start with the heavy metal. You were buzzing earlier about this HCL CamWorks update. Usually when you talk software, I see your eyes glaze over, but you seemed genuinely rattled by this Swiss-type thing. What's the big deal?
It's the dark magic of the machining world. Look, for the folks who haven't spent their life savings on tooling, a standard CNC lathe is like a potter's wheel. The part spins, then you hit it with a chisel. But a Swiss-type machine, it's more like a neurosurgeon's robot. The part moves back and forth through a guide bushing, and the tools are right there, practically touching the workpiece.
So it's just closer? That's the game changer?
It's the rigidity, Alex. It allows you to turn pieces that are long and thin, things that would normally flop around like a wet noodle if you tried to cut them on a regular lathe. This new 2026 update makes the synchronization between the main spindle and the sub-spindle feel like a choreographed ballet. The computer is doing the heavy lifting, so you don't end up with a pile of expensive metal confetti and a broken heart.
Well, someone is clearly buying into it. I saw that Van Am Tool and Engineering is dropping $1.5 million on a shop expansion in Missouri. That's a lot of not wet noodle parts.
It's a massive vote of confidence for domestic shops. It's a reminder that we're still making real things here. You can't 3D print a high-pressure hydraulic valve. Well, you can, but I wouldn't stand next to it. You need heavy iron and smart operators. It's a good time to be in the chips.
Speaking of being in the trade, let's talk about the electricians. The 2026 industry profile came out, and apparently, they've traded their wire nuts for 3D printers.
It sounds like a gimmick until you're on a job site at 4 p.m. on a Friday and you're missing one specific, weirdly shaped bracket for a custom controller. Back in my day, if I can sound like an old-timer for a second, you'd be bending scrap metal or waiting 3 days for shipping. Now, these guys are carrying small resin or filament printers in the van. They're printing custom fittings on site. It's the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card.
Okay, that's cool, but the report also got pretty serious about safety. Absence of voltage testing. Tiger, you've told me stories about your incidents. Is this as scary as it sounds?
It's scarier. I remember working on a dead panel in a basement years ago. I'd flipped the breaker, checked it once, and went to work. What I didn't know was that some previous genius had cross-wired a backfed circuit from a dryer outlet. I touched a common wire and felt a vibration that started in my teeth and ended in my boots. I was lucky I didn't get thrown across the room like you see in the movies. I just sort of slumped over and felt like my blood had turned into carbonated soda.
That is terrifying, and you're still here somehow.
Barely. The point is, the absence of voltage testers they're recommending now are permanent. You don't even open the panel to check. You push a button on the outside, and it tells you if the beast is truly asleep. It takes the human who forgot to drink enough coffee out of the equation. Trust me, dead is a relative term until you've verified it 3 ways from Sunday.
Let's pivot to something a little less life-threatening. The Maker Mogul data for 2026. If I wanted to quit this podcast, not that I would, and start a shop, what's actually moving the needle?
Well, it's a bit of a split personality market. On one hand, people are desperate for the human touch. Handmade ceramics are absolutely blowing up. We're talking 50, 60 bucks for a mug. People don't want factory-made perfection anymore. They want something that looks like a person actually touched it, maybe left a thumbprint.
But wait, didn't you just say 3D printing is the future? Now you're saying human touch?
That's the beauty of it. You can play both sides. While the potters are getting their hands dirty, the digital makers are getting rich in their sleep. People are selling the files for their CNC projects or 3D prints. You design it once, upload the blueprint, and people pay you $5 to download it while you're out fishing. It's passive income for the nerds. I say that with love, being one myself.
I've seen some of those prices on Etsy, though. Some makers are barely charging more than the cost of the clay. Is the math as simple as they think?
Absolutely not. That's where most shops die, on the altar of bad math. People forget their time has a price tag attached to it. I always tell folks, take your material cost, add your hourly rate, throw in your overhead, electricity, rent, the coffee you drank, then double the whole thing. If the market won't pay that, you don't have a business, you have an expensive hobby. You have to value your own sweat, or nobody else will.
Let's talk about the expensive hobby parts. I've noticed a lot of people are spending more time building their workshops than they are actually building projects. The high-end shop finish trend, it's basically interior design for saws.
It's true. We've reached a point where the shack in the backyard is becoming a professional studio. I'm seeing guys put crown molding in their wood shop. It sounds ridiculous, but there's a psychological side to it. If you're working in a dark, damp hole, your work is going to look like it came out of a dark, damp hole.
I saw one guy, Jay, I think, putting down Cali decking in his shop area. Isn't that overkill?
It's composite. It's practically indestructible. He's putting it on his outdoor deck, but the trend is the same. Longevity over everything. Why spend every spring power washing and staining pressure-treated wood when you can put down composite and forget about it for 20 years? It's the same with French cleat systems in the shop.
For the uninitiated, meaning me, describe a French cleat without using the word fancy.
It's just two pieces of wood cut at a 45-degree angle. One goes on the wall, one goes on the tool rack. They lock together by gravity. It's like Lego for grown-ups with power tools. You can move your drill rack 6 inches to the left whenever you feel like it. It gives you the freedom to be disorganized and then fix it in 30 seconds.
Ah, so it's built for people like you.
Exactly, but here's a tip for when you're installing all that pretty trim in your shop. Use a sacrificial block. If you hit your nice, finished molding directly with a hammer, you're going to leave a smiley face dent that'll haunt you every time you walk in the door. Put a scrap piece of wood over it and hit that. It's a 5-second step that separates the pros from the folks who just bought their first miter saw.
We've covered a lot of ground, from high-tech Swiss lathes to not blowing ourselves up with 220 volts, down to the smiley faces on our trim. What's the one thing people should actually hold on to from all this?
I think it's the realization that the old ways and the new ways aren't fighting each other anymore. They're shaking hands. You've got electricians using 3D printers and potters using digital marketing to sell ancient crafts. The TigerDen philosophy has always been about being a student first. Don't be afraid of the tech, but don't forget the basics, like checking if a wire is hot or valuing your own labor.
And maybe, just maybe, spending 5 minutes putting your 1/2-inch socket back where it belongs?
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I need something to hunt for tomorrow morning or I won't feel alive.
That's fair. Thanks for joining us in the den today. If you're out in the shop today, keep your fingers clear of the blade and your eyes on your meters.
Build it better, folks. We'll see you next time.